What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
What's going on, chat? Welcome to match 4 of the night for NECC Games. I'm Yelkreb, co-casting with my good buddy Unicorn for a finals rematch from the fall coming into the spring. Midland University taking on Boise State Blue in this one. Unicorn, we've seen these two teams have got a history. Boise State took a regular season game off of Midland last semester. Midland got revenge in the grand finals, and now they're meeting again for the first time in the regular season during the spring. Who do you think has the edge going into this grudge match?
It's a heck of a game, a heck of a series in front of us. I'm so excited to cast it with you here, Yelk. I mean, you've got to assume right off the bat, it's got to be Midland, right? You and I were talking about it beforehand. Not sure on the exact numbers. I'm thinking it was 4-1 in the finals for the previous semester, for the previous season of the NECC. However, jumping into this, not too many fresh faces. However, maybe fresh mentality. Maybe Boise State has a bunch of strats that they've worked up. According to them, they think they've solidified their spot as a top 10 team in the nation right now when it comes to collegiate esports Overwatch. So they're riding in here with confidence. They're not taking the loss too hard in the last finals. They're really ready to bring it to Midland. On paper, I've got to say Midland, but I'm loving the confidence from Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State, definitely a team that plays with a ton of confidence. They're 3-0 on the season. Midland coming in at 2-1 with a loss to UC Santa Cruz. But in this one, Midland definitely does have the confidence that facing an enemy that they've beaten in a very high stakes match prior. So this is a little more reined back from those stakes. Midland doesn't have to play with so much nerves going on. Maybe Boise doesn't as well. Maybe that's why Boise didn't perform in the finals. Maybe they just weren't quite up to par for the finals last semester, but they do seem like a new team here in the spring, even though it's the same roster, just a ton of growth within the program.
And that's what we're mentioning. Not a ton of fresh faces, right? Midland, I think, had a few changes. Boise State runs in with the same roster. It's just that confidence, right? It's really honing in. Maybe it was the nerves that got us. Maybe we just really dig deep with these VOD reviews and we come out, we straight bring it to Midland with that aggression that we love to see from Boise. I believe, was it the same team you loved the wrecking ball player from Boise State? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, Guac just
Yes, Guac,
slams.
that's who it was.
He is so fierce. Him and Kel and Goblin God. Okay, we got to talk about Goblin a little bit too. I would love to talk about Guac, but Goblin is the only player in the Gladiators division, the top division in the NECC, that will put down his most played heroes are Bastion and Torb. Who does that? Absolutely nobody. And this guy owns on DPS.
He does. He does. He's absolutely a force to be reckoned with. And like you said, on Bastion, Torb, I mean, you see Echo, Tracer. I mean, we just saw a crazy May from Uncivil Word. You've got these standard rushdown or dive heroes, but when you throw Bastion and Torb, I mean, do you just stick it in any comp and know that Goblin God's gonna perform on it? I mean, maybe that's what they rely on here, but I'm looking out, at least for the side of Boise State, like you mentioned for Guac. He's been on the Wrecking Ball last season, like we saw him. Wrecking Ball since then, taken a few nerfs. Definitely not right there at the top like he was for so long. I think that spot is kind of solidified by that double bubble meta we've been seeing so often, but maybe he still makes it work. When you have a Wrecking Ball and you know that play on that hero is way up here, maybe you just keep rolling with it. Pun intended.
You're absolutely right. I mean, okay, I like it.
All right,
You did mention it. I wasn't going to mention it, but I like to keep rolling with it. Pun.
Appreciate it.
So it seems like Blizzard is trying to make Brawl a little bit better in the matchups against these split comps that have been running rampant with Sigma, Wrecking Ball, and heroes like that. Double Bubble has come back in a big way in the last week with the recent patch, but Ryan's gotten some changes. Zarya's getting some new changes on a new experimental patch. Orisa got a heavy buff on the last patch, but hasn't gotten quite as much playtime as I think the devs desired her to get, and it really has been that Double Bubble. But I think Guac is going to have no problem playing the Wrecking Ball today. I think it's his absolute comfort pick, and the rest of Boise State rallies around how he plays that hero, how he calms, and the timing that front line gives them.
And as you can see, the place to watch here on Oasis isn't going to be anything with a team fight. It's very clearly going to be match chat. So make sure you keep your eye on that. Make sure you look away if it gets a little weird too fast. However, these players obviously a bit of a vengeance seeking from the side of Boise State, but clearly some rivalry going on here. A lot of fun. As we jump in here, walk me through this blue side. You got Noro, you got Shatter on a Winston Ball here. Not super conventional, but definitely formidable right now.
Yeah, this is a point where you want to make sure you can set up your engagements using these high grounds in the middle pillar in the center of the point. They teleport out of the spawn to get some extra speed with that symmetric pick, but it doesn't seem like they're going to win the race and beat Boise State Blue to this jump pad high ground. And Boise State Blue already pouncing on this Echo, but Noro's able to take down ACU to start the trade war. Chatter comes in with an engagement onto the Rhine, but Guac still stands tall as what bursts down Goblin. The typical Bastion player on the Somber right now, a different look for him. A large bagel also goes down to the burst from What, who finishes off Guac as well. What has started off very hot, just like he ended in the finals last season. He was the player of the match, I believe, during that Midland Boise game.
I believe he was as well. That's actually, if I'm seeing it right, that's a clean 4K, maybe even a 5K there from What on that Tracer. He's already got a pulse bomb ready to go. It's online here at 99% ready to come out. The closest person to him is Scout right behind him at 78 towards this Nano. You've got to assume that they use this going into this fight. I want to see a quick pulse bomb, maybe onto a tank or just the backline, either force out the immortality or hopefully it gets baited out beforehand and stops the fight before it even starts, as they want to move coast side toward these cars.
Boise State coming in from the coast side. What? Trying to line up this pulse bomb and avoid the Diva Mech. Gets stunned in. Can't quite get his ultimate off, but he's able to make it out with his life. Lands the stick in onto Plato, taking him out along the coast side. Now just collecting that mega health pack before he goes back in. Still anyone's fight here as Guac struggling to claim this space, spinning around with his shield, trying to block all the damage he can, as the rest of Boise Blue not really in good positions to piece off this Midland defense, but they're able to find Scout and Sky more toward the jump pad side of things. The Diva ult committed by Kel just so he gets that remake, and the fight can be stabilized on the point by Boise Blue, but it's still not over yet. They have to continue to commit Ultimate Unicorn to wrap this one up.
And this is exactly what Midland wants. They know the fight's probably over. They'll commit the primal to it, but look at all the ultimates that the side of Boise State Blue have to expend just to really take control here. It all started with Kel and a large bagel absolutely sectioning off Scout there. Ends up on the jump pad fighting for his life. but they do end up taking that 2v1. Obviously goes in their favor. After that, they are able to slowly clean up the side of Midland here as they'll look to push back in. Ult economy not looking great for Boise State Blue. However, they've got an EMP that they're hoping to turn it around with.
Goblin trying to line up that EMP right now and lets it rip, but the copy's already come through on the Reinhardt. Shiloh does go down quickly to AC when Guac fire strikes down Scout before finishing off Shiloh. Guac claiming all the space as his own here on the point, and it continues to uptick for Boise State Blue. They've just got the supports to finish off, and that is easy pickings for this Broncos comp.
I like the way that they're trying their best to enable Guac inside of this kind of makeshift rushdown that they have. They're making space via the off angles, forcing Midland onto point, and then once they're there, you know, Chatter, who was previously on that ball, Noro on the Winston, once they're there in that Reinhardt's face, it's easy pickings for Guac as he does get the snipe with that fire strike. But we'll see Chatter go to Zarya now on a very traditional double bubble, and we'll have to see if it works out for them. You'll see Noro immediately start contesting point here as Guac moves in on him.
Guac moves in, as does what, whips the pulse bomb onto Bagel. Noro goes down to Plato in the front line. The beat drop committed by Bagel to push in Guac even farther into the back line, swinging away onto Chatter, but he's 100 charge and looking dangerous, but he's put to bed finally by Plato. Another fight won for Boise State Broncos as they've got 76% pushing into final fight territory here on the first point of Oasis.
Boise State looking clean right now. Guac looks like he would have a ton of trouble dealing with this comp, especially the Ana here from Scout mixed in with that double bubble Zarya Winston. However, he's absolutely making it pay off. They've got ults to play with here as they come into last fight. You got to assume the pulse comes out soon, but here comes the bomb first.
The bomb first, but the shatter lands on 3. Nothing to stand in its way. Bagel following up with the damage, helping out Guac in the front line, but Noro and what have been taking out trades in the back line of Boise State, and now it is a 2 versus 3 on the point. A Winston and a Tracer versus a Winston, a Reinhardt, and a Lucio. What will have to do everything in his power to come out on top, throws in the pulse bomb, but it comes up empty. 99% in overtime, ticking away here in the possession of Boise State Blue still. What does go down to that hammer swing from Reinhardt, but Shiloh copies onto a Reinhardt of his own, and they can build a lot of momentum here off this Echo copy, but he's not able to get that Earth Shatter off in time. Overtime still ticking away as Boise State Blue looks to find targets on the outside, but Noro finds 2. Shiloh D-Max kill, and it looks like Midland have not said die in this fight yet. They're still looking to claim this point.
It was absolutely a beautiful retake there. They send What and absolutely abandoned him, tell him to fight on point for as long as they can. Noro goes back and gets health, jumps back in before he ends up finding 3, including that D-Mech, and they end up what looks like turning this point here. At this point, Guac just backing down, trying to get the heals as quick as possible. They know that they're up on some ults here, so they want to move right back in quickly. Kel tries to take advantage of the high ground. Plato throws out the pulse bomb. The EMP follows it up. The ults are being dumped from the side of Boise State Blue, and it's looking like it's in their favor now as Guac is running rampant in the back line.
Boise State just had the off economy advantage. Midland had to do everything in their power and everything in their arsenal to keep that point from going Boise's way earlier, but it doesn't seem like they'll be able to stave off Boise much longer as that EMP to start this engagement really sparked an absolute flurry of kills for the Broncos. Plato able to delete Noro, and it seems like Boise State in full control at this point, not letting it go at 99 and looking to claim round 1 on Oasis as their own.
They turn it here again. Chatter may be able to touch on the Diva, however, is booped back and unable to ultimately. You see it here after as close as it gets, pretty much 97 to 100. Beautiful retakes from both teams. Boise State Blue takes City Center, and we're going to move into another map here on Oasis. Looks like it's going to be Gardens. Boise State's looking good right now. This is a different team. They wrote it down for us and told us, and I'm already seeing it, Yoke.
I'm already seeing it too. We saw just the late investments coming in from Midland. It seemed like they had a fighting chance, but Boise State knew they were still in full control of the game when they were sitting at 99%, Midland just at 66. They knew the investments were going to come through from Midland with their back against the wall, and Boise State just sat on their DPS ultimates, came back in with that re-engage, had perfect timing through it that whole play to take the point late.
And just like you mentioned, at 66%, they knew that all they had to do was play it slowly. So they spend that, roughly 30% really getting the advantages that they need to ultimately end up turning it. However, here on Gardens, done with City Center, we have Guac back on high ground here as the Reinhardt moving forward on Gardens. And once again, just absolutely annihilating everyone in the back line. Takes down Sky quickly on that Mercy.
Despite playing against a dive comp, it seems like Guac has complete tempo control with the help of Bagel on this Lucio, just speeding him around, carting him to everywhere he needs to go, and they're able to just avoid the dive and not let any targets on their team be that vulnerable and stick out like sore thumbs for this dive comp of Midland to target.
It definitely seems surprising. What I want to see here from Noro as, well, nope, he's no longer on the Winston. Looks like he opts for a Reinhardt himself. That's the ultimate victory there for Guac. If he can get them off of that double bubble meta and back onto the Reinhardt standard brawl, maybe that's exactly what they're looking for. They have to be comfortable now. They've got the high ground control. They're going to force Midland up here. The brawl's going to commence quickly here as Kel tries to go for some boops, but the Maywall's there as well.
Noro's able to pin Plato into that Maywall. What headshots down Goblin God. And now Guac just trying to make a play up against Chatter, who's already used his personal bubble. He's backed up against the wall, taken down by the hammer swings from the Boise State main tank as they look to keep control of this point. But what? Hosting a presence on the point, trying to stun fan down the fearful main tank, but eventually he does get that kill, but Bagel does melee him down. It's just a Lucio duel on the point, something you don't see very often. I'm not sure Midland can get back in time to contest this one out.
Yeah, it looks close there for a second. However, Sky ultimately gonna give it up on that Lucio, run back with the help of Scout on that Baptiste. Midland's gonna look to regroup here. Once again, you see Boise State Blue take advantage of that high ground presence. They're just gonna continue enabling Plato on that McCree, who has a high noon of his own ready to go, hoping the Maywalls work out in his favor this time.
There's so many ultimates on the side for Boise State. They start this one off with the high noon that finds a pair. Shiloh and Sky both fall. What is able to headshot trade out a kill onto ACU and take down Plato as well. But that shatter from Guac in this little closed-in hookah room is going to be what puts the stop to the Midland attack.
Man, what on this McCree is absolutely decimating. They're losing the fights, but I mean, he's just matching everything Plato is able to put out, even when the fights are not going in his favor. I love to play him from here so far, but 95% Boise State Blue ticking away. Looks like they are going to have Sky to touch, but the EMP bomb is immediately going to meet the full force of Midland. Noro is able to touch here on the Reinhardt, able to swing. He has the amplification matrix keeping him up. However, Guac in the back line absolutely destroys Scout with the pin from behind. The ambush is there. Noro is left without healers. Boise State Blue take Oasis, and Gardens didn't look close, yo. It didn't look close at all.
Ooh, it did not look close, Unicorn. I mean, that EMP to start the last fight, they had the same scenario going previously. If that's their win condition, that's one of the most powerful ultimates in the game. You can really rally around it and use every single cooldown to a much increased effect, but still just Guac in the front line. This is when he had the Lucio just going up against Midland without any real hope. It was just complete tempo control coming in on the flank. Who is this guy pinning through a Baptiste window? That is Guac, and he is making himself known as Boise State goes up 1-0.
He's, as of right now, making himself known as the face of this team, absolutely walking forward and destroying anyone in his line of sight. And as he just proved there, maybe even getting behind you and destroying your team without even knowing he's there. Midland, for the first time that we've said this, has to find some answers against Boise State. It looked like it was the opposite last season, but once again, Boise coming in and immediately showing that they're not the same team that they were. And now it's Midland on the back foot.
It is Midland on the back foot, indeed, heading into Eichenwald. And that is a point that seems like it will favor Boise State again. I mean, if they're going to run the Reinhardt, it seems like there's no better place than Reinhardt's home field advantage of Eichenwald. And Guac has looked great so far, despite us touting him as the best wrecking ball in this division. Hands down, like definitely the best wrecking ball. I don't believe it's that close. He dominates every single game he's in, and it's just a shock to see him on Reinhardt to begin with. But he looked completely fine, Unicorn.
He did it. I mean, maybe he's just been in constant communication with people around you, Yelk. I know you've had a pretty big crush on the Reinhardt lately, so maybe he heard that. He's showing you how it's done here in the NECC. You were a fan of his wrecking ball. He's got some other things for you to be a fan of, and that's starting with the Reinhardt. Maybe he throws some other stuff out for us. Maybe he's just as confident on his Winston. But right now, on this main tank, destroying everything in his sight. I'm excited to see him do it again on Eichenwald. However, if Midland's going to turn it around, since they wanted to run that double bubble on Oasis, maybe it works out for them Streets phase of Eichenwald. They can take advantage of that high ground. Definitely going to be difficult for Guac there if he chooses to stay with that Reinhardt. However, as we've talked about, definitely seems formidable no matter what he switches to in that main tank presence. The Reinhardt may be here, but I don't think many things that he offers are right below it.
No, he's solid on every single thing he plays. And also on the side of Midland, what has been no slouch? It seems like he's able to find those backline trades and give his team a fighting chance from the damage dealing role. He's so far, I would say, outplayed Plato and Goblin, but they've played heroes that have provided some ultimates that have closed out fights for Boise State. So what? Although he's doing very well with his base kit, it seems like he's going to have to find some increased value with bigger ultimates, bigger plays to be able to win these win condition fights that Boise State is doing a great job of setting up for themselves.
And as of right now, maybe that turns to the other faces of Midland University. Maybe they need to be doing more to enable what, because he's got to be in a position to get those ultimates off. When we saw Plato hit that crazy high noon that found two, what immediately with the flashbang followed up with the headshots found two of his own. But like you mentioned, the fight was already lost. They're already down. Midland's just on the back foot at that point, trying to backpedal and stop the staggers. However, What's still trying to clean up the best he can with the situation he's provided. We'll have to see if he can do it as we jump into Eichenwald here.
Getting started here on Eichenwald, a hybrid point in today's best of three series. The first point, the tower and the tavern, which will have to be unlocked before the payload gets moving through second point bridge phase and onto third in the final castle finish line. Just tell us about this first point a little bit. I mean, the tower provides some serious high ground coverage if a team chooses to pick a flying DPS here, and then the tavern in the back is a very good spot to bunker up if a defending team finds themselves on the retreat.
It's a simple man's choke here on Eichenwald. You've got the archway, you've got an avenue to the left. However, it's just as small and pretty daunting of a room to look at if you're anything below 300 health, in my opinion. However, I think I'd like to see Guac here on the Reinhardt, at least for the first point, especially how well he did. However, we'll see this new strat that I hate, and I hope that it's not real and doesn't turn into a thing. It's Reinhardt Orisa, Yelk.
All right, that's one of my favorite comps. The team that I'm currently on loves to play it. We call it the German horsepower, and the halt with the fire strike combo. You can do a couple of other, DPS cooldowns on top of that, but that halt fire strike combo really sets the hammer into the other team and charges up Earth Shatter ridiculously fast. I mean, you can build a Shatter in 3 good fire strikes on this comp.
So you're really just out here. You're really going to just introduce me to German horsepower and just keep going with the conversation like we don't need to talk about that? That's probably the best name I've ever heard.
I've had that name since the Better Academy Tier 3 final over a year and a half ago when I think Deathwatch, the team in that tournament, ran it for the first time that I saw it. But it was remarkable. The way those two tanks played it, they weren't quite the ranks that these two are, so I'm very excited to see how they get it going. That fire strike, a little premature on the halt. Now the Maywall comes through to wall off Plato Chatter, making quick work of him, and then the counterpin goes into Kel, and it doesn't look like he'll be able to stay alive much longer. The immortality field goes down, but Goblin did find that kill on the Scout. So one support taken down for Midland in the backline. They do not have the mercy to resurrect it, and now they're falling back to the tavern.
And it's interesting to talk about. You see Kel here on the Reinhardt instead of Guac. I'm not sure if Kel's Orisa is just that bad, or maybe Kel's Reinhardt is just that much better than Guac's. And if that's possible, I'd love to see it here. You see Midland back on it. They're ready to come through with that May, ready to really take it to this Orisa. Instead, they find Kel again, who tries to pin out, but instead it's Goblin popping off on the Pharah here, making quick work of the entire backline as Kel cleans up the rest of it with him, and Guac and friends are just going to clean up here. Point A Eichenwald falls quickly. 5 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock as Boise State Blue moves into street phase.
Not even enough time to get a drink in the tavern on first point before it's capped by the Broncos. They did a great job of identifying what as the target to dive on Goblin Guard. After taking him down first, he's got nothing left to worry about, and with a damage boost from ACU, that Pharah can do a ton of work, especially here on the second point of Eichenwald, which we have bursted into. What does find the kill onto ACU. Now the Pharah's left without a pocket, Boise State left without a resurrect. Scout has to throw that immortality field out to keep his front line alive from Goblin, who's continuing to rain rockets in. He takes down what? Shiloh falls to Bagel. The Pharah is free to roam, lets the ultimate rip, but is taken down quickly by the beam of Chatter. It doesn't seem like Midland is able to make a stand on this first hold of second point, as Boise State continues to get the payload moving.
I love the confident fight there from Midland. They immediately rush in with that Lucio. Sky immediately opting for the Brigida now instead of that Lucio. Clearly the fight did not go in their favor. They realized that even if they wanted to walk onto this Orisa, there's still so much damage threatening that backline that they're unable to. Guac going to take this high ground on the Orisa and just enable his entire team as he leaves Kel with the responsibility of the payload as it slowly progresses and Midland pops the amplification matrix.
And everyone is aware the challenge is coming out on this high ground from Midland University. They pop the window and the high noon, which is able to take the bird out of the skies, but Plato finds a pair on the McCree, holding down this payload on bridge. It nears the finish line here on second point. The supercharger's been popped to amplify up the Broncos even more, as they've just got a Winston left to deal with in Noro.
And that Noro is going to be easy to clean up on Winston there. They're moving into point 3 inside of this room that is so hard to push with 5:15 on the clock, only 15 seconds in total. Lost on Streets phase there cumulatively. Goblin has the barrage. Absolutely no ultimates for the side of Midland University as they go right back to that rushdown comp. Charging it up as fast as it can here, but only about 50% as they're going to have to push into a couple ultimates, but he finds Goblin as he tries to get that barrage off.
Barrage absolutely shut down. That is the momentum Midland was hoping to build, but they've still got to clean up some kills. The shield's looking awfully low on the side of the Broncos, and it seems like Shiloh on this May is just putting up way too much of a front line to get through, but Chatter is desuited. A large bagel bursting him out of that neck, and now Plato popping the high noon from the staircase, finds another pair. He has been lights out with that ultimate so far. Kel steamrolling in, pinning Noro against the wall. And that is it. The castle has been sieged. Can they make it to the throne? 4.5 minutes to get it, just 20 more meters, Unicorn.
What showing off those mechanical skills, but Plato showing off the mind here, finding these high noons in the worst possible situations and turning the fight around. Noro's here to try and contest, but the kill feed is still lighting up red. No support, no what here to try and help. Noro pops a shatter. It does find Kel, but the immortality field's there.
Oh no!
The blizzard comes out, but there's no one on point as Shatter was trying to help the backline threat. And you see Boise State Blue take Eichenwald, 0.3405, right there at it, left on the clock. This is difficult if you're Midland. I think I'm getting a little worried that it's not the same season anymore.
It definitely is not. The state team is looking flashy, but they did win in the regular season last season before Midland won in the championship. So the story is not fully written here in the regular season. This is just a best of 3. Midland University is a different looking team in a best of 5, but right now they definitely have to look for answers. Boise State has predicted this meta perfectly, and they're playing their comp to perfection.
Boise State throwing out a little shade there, saying in chat a number letter moment, or a letter number moment. Kind of a hint of a C9 there. You got to assume letter number moment. I mean, I've got to assume that accentuates a C9 there, Yelk. Talking a little smack here as they're up on Eichenwald.
I've never actually heard that terminology for a Charlie Niner before, but Bagel teaching me something like he does every time I seem to spectate him. But again, talking about this German horsepower comp, you were surprised to see it. Were you surprised to see how well Boise was able to run it against Noro and Chatter on very meta tank picks?
I love the idea of it, and I've watched some videos on why the comp works. I know, we mentioned experimental patches and things like that with the Zarya buffs. People are hoping that it doesn't stick because, it kind of thrives off that double shield idea, but we saw it work perfectly Streets phase, right? They get the high ground, Walk enables them, and then Kel just continues to push that payload, and they thrive from there. However, Midland's now on the attack here. They've got their rushdown comp ready to go. The immortality field has to be used early in what still falls.
He does indeed. The McCree's taken down, and unfortunately for Midland, Boise does have that Resurrect to put onto Goblin, and he can just fearlessly take to the skies again because what has traded out, and Midland does not have that Resurrect of their own. Plato able to headshot down Shiloh with the help of that damage boost, and Kel wastes absolutely no time pinning in, but he will get collected by Noro and taken close to Midland's spawn before being pinned up against that wall and taken down, and now Boise State left without half of their front line, put in a tough spot here on defense.
Yeah, the fight looked in their favor until a bit of an overextension there from Kel. At this point, you got to assume Midland just wants to get in as fast as possible. However, Pin is a great ability because Kel's already right back in the game.
I don't believe anyone was ready for Plato to have that high noon so soon, but they've still got to buckle up because Goblin is coming up on this barrage. They pop the window to amplify some damage onto this choke. And Noro swinging away, trying to claim some space on this point, but he's unable to collect all of it. Chatter does take down Goblin, so they won't be able to get that far ultimate off. Chatter is desuited by ACU up top, but still 1 by 1. Midland collects some kills. They've only got 2 left to deal with. Plato on a deep flank, but he's taken down in a trade with 1.
A clean attack there from Midland. I'm not as impressed as what I saw from Boise State. However, they take it all the same. 4:50 on the clock for them as they move into Streets phase. They've got to deal with Goblin on this far. What's definitely handling it the best he can, but the angles that Goblin's utilizing throughout these natural structures is forcing What to take these angles that he otherwise wouldn't want to be in. I love the play here, and you'll immediately see Boise State Blue off for this high ground, as you so often see on Eichenwald. However, now they have to deal with this German horsepower of an Orisa Rhine up there. The amplification matrix has popped, and it's just a free 15 seconds off the clock here for Boise State. Take a drink, just chill and relax for a moment. No one's pushing the payload for a bit.
No one is for a bit, and Goblin is just trying to set up this rocket barrage right on the other side of this second point gate. 4 minutes on the clock left for Midland, and they clearly see that there's something in the sky they have to deal with before they can claim any space beyond this gate. Nora rolls in. Can the rest of his team follow up behind him? They've got to get to the castle to find some cover. The high noon popped, and so is the barrage. Both DPS ultimates committed by Boise, but it's going to be What? Headshotting Goblin out of that ultimate again. They've done a good job at shutting down the barrages thus far, but the slam lands on the 2, and Kel pins through Noro and takes down Chatter. Guac does fall to Sky, but I believe the job has been done by the Broncos.
It's definitely looking like it there. They're able to utilize that high ground until it's finally time to jump down. However, Shiloh's committing the Blizzard. They don't think they're done with this. Kel's on his way out, and they turn it there. That was clean. I liked the retake there from Midland.
I think they knew they didn't have the Orisa to deal with, and Shiloh was feeling that Blizzard in his back pocket and knowing that he could lock up Kel on his escape. And that's exactly what they did, and now they've just got to do their best at holding these tight doorways and keeping Boise in spawn as long as possible, because this bridge is a very tough point to get if the defense is able to get out. But the supercharger is popped. The D-ball comes in over the top. Can it find anything for Chatter? I don't believe it can.
It doesn't look like it. Chatter does find Guac with the bomb, though. However, Chatter's off the map. Shiloh's there to try and help. Does take out Plato, but What's there with a high noon as well. He takes out a large bagel. Noro just fragging out on point, swinging for the fences here. He's got Guac in his sights as he continues to swing. Guac trying to spin as best as he can. However, it's a huge Shatter that finds 3.5 there, as Goblin's in the wrong place at the wrong time as well, trying to continue holding. However, Midland are going to take it here. A large bagel doing his best to try and contest it at the last second, but it doesn't even get the immortality field out. Scout takes him out. Not Scott. Maybe his name is Scott. Scout takes him out as they move into point 3, and they've got about 3:45 on the clock. Definitely a good number as well, but as you can see, already moving into point 3, lower, a smaller time bank than Boise State had when they finished.
I mean, that is just a true testament to the strength of Boise State, because this has been a very incredible attack and response we've seen from Midland so far, but it is just not enough to match the time bank. But Midland not done yet. They've got to counter this Riptire coming up from Goblin. He's just stalling it against this wall and using the entire time bank. He talked about this in an interview. Using the entire time bank of the Riptire before you let it fly is a way to get a ton of cooldowns out and just completely back up the other team with fear. Scout's immortality field is taken down by Kel. They won't have that going into this next engagement. Noro does fearlessly engage with the help of that Maywall and pins through Guac. With the beat drop just building up this team, it doesn't seem like they're done here. Midland need to finish this map now to keep their time bank in a competitive fashion, and it seems like Unicorn, they might just be able to do it.
It's looking like they are. However, I love the retake here from Boise State. They're playing patient until the last second. However, it may not still be enough here. Noro finds the Shatter, ends up pinning Guac. That was the main person they needed there for stalls. Kel is frozen out there too. Almost eats the Blizzard. However, still not enough. Falls out of mech and eventually falls to the ground. The contest is over. 2 minutes even for Midland University.
2 minutes as the team that capped with just less than Boise State. If both time banks are over 2 minutes, the game does bring it back down to 2. As you can see, Boise had, I think, 4 minutes 5 seconds, and it's changed to 3:28. That just kind of expedites this game out a little bit so it doesn't drag on, let's say, 25, 30 minutes. We've had them go that long before. It's still possible. Both of these teams in overtime could still cap 3 points again. Unicorn, we might not be done after this. I mean, those are 2 time banks where you can get that done, and I don't think there was much of a speed bump for either of these attacks.
I mean, when we talk about two teams of this caliber, I mean, just to highlight it here, and another quick congratulations, Shatter actually hitting top 10 on an alt account, top 10 NA. So that's a super impressive feat. But when we talk about two teams here that are this high in the standings, you absolutely see these maps go on for 5, 6 points. It's usually just the attacking team getting the momentum and snowballing. They're able to take advantage of this ult economy so heavily here as we move into the higher SR. We'll have to see if they can do it here on Eichenwald. However, Midland University down about a minute 30 in their time bacon. They're going to have to use it to their advantage here quickly, or try not to be used to their disadvantage here, as they want to move in quickly to point A on attack, and they're going to do it with the same rushdown they started with.
They are. We're seeing a Zarya opted out instead of a Diva on the side of Boise State, and going with a Junkrat instead of a Mei. The Mei can offer a lot of tempo for Brawl to set up engagements around that wall, but Goblin got on the Junkrat, a very comfortable pick for him, very effective at bursting down squishy targets with a one-hit combo with the nade and the concussion mine to boot. But it seems like Midland again able to squeak through along this left side for the attackers, but they're going to be caught out in the blue room now. Goblin does go down to Chatter to start things off, but Scout falls to Plato. No resurrect on either side, makes this a 5 versus 5, and what a scrappy engagement to start the first fight here on Eichenwald is what falls to Kel.
It definitely is. Chatter was on the objective immediately and was capping it, however, chose to go back to his team. That might have been their demise here as Guak is able to walk forward. He's back on the Reinhardt now. Just notice that. He's just going to clean up Chatter, probably stall this baby Diva out. Maybe a little bit of respect. Maybe she's dying early. Nope, she's going to live for as long as they decide, as they're going to send her back to spawn here after about a 10-second stagger. We're down to 1 minute even on the clock. Midland in a 2 very clean fight territory, maybe one scrappy one left.
Unfortunately for Midland, not coming up on a lot of ultimate. Scout can charge up that amplification window very quickly, but the first one will come out from ACU, but a Maywall is put up right in the window itself. Goblin God trying to keep some flank control before Midland wraps around this side yet again. Now he rips the tire, and look at him just stall it out one more time. Goes into blue room, finds a triple kill. Sky Scout and what? All going down in a blink of an eye, and that will send Midland packing once again.
And he's going to hit us with the voice lines. 20 seconds left. Midland's going to be desperate here. They've got the amp matrix. Maybe they can build up a blizzard here if they're lucky and this fight turns long. Noro's going to drop any idea of an earth shatter and immediately go to ball here just to try and touch the last seconds. He's going to be able to, but there's still 4 seconds on the left on the clock. He's got to preserve his health here.
Midland University rushing in on their final stint. What does headshot down Plato before popping his own high noon. Isn't able to find any kills with that, but Chatter does rocket down kill. ACU falls as well. Midland collects 4 kills, and they've won this first point outright. Now it's just a matter of how far they can get this payload pushed before Boise State has their chance to attack.
It looks scary there for a second, but as you would say, it's officially winnable at this point. They're pushing it here into point 2. They move on to Streets phase. Once again, this is overtime, folks. So if anybody, for any reason, gets off of that payload for about a second and a half, and that will continue getting quicker and quicker and quicker until it goes down to 0.25 seconds, I believe, at its fastest. Overtime will expire and the round will be over. So Midland forced to stay on point here and keep this low ground for now.
Boise State just has a massive positioning advantage, claiming this castle. It is a literal fortress. They're choosing to defend. They drop down from the high ground. Guak lands in the slam, but he's stunned before he's able to clean up those kills. The beat drops come out from both sides. The May ultimate committed by Shiloh Scout. Headshotting down ACU. The Baptiste no longer for the Broncos. Goblin also does follow that Diva Bomb thrown out by Chatter, but it's a 4 versus 4 here in the spawns. Really in neither team's favor, so the brawl continues out on point. Guak unfortunately gets pinned into that Maywall. Noro collecting the kill onto him, but still Boise State not giving up yet. They want to find one more pick before they're sent back to spawn, and I don't believe they're able to do it, Unicorn.
Definitely not. A large Beagle trying to do what he can. He's just playing around on point here, trying to stall as much time as possible, trying to stop the progress. Every single meter matters here as we move on to the bridge. It's so easy to get teams booped off here, even for just a second. Once again, forced to stay on that payload is Midland University. The amplification matrix is here. Plato finds one. No, I'm sorry, he doesn't. He finds a matrix. Instead, Goblin finds one, and they're moving forward. This has got to have Boise State written all over it here as they move in, but the shatter's there from Noro.
A fantastic swap over to the Widowmaker. Unexpected to come out from Goblin GDH, but that is going to get the job done. He's able to take down Scout through that amplification matrix, and Scout had that ultimate online. That could have been a playmaker for Midland University, but The one hit through the amplification matrix from Goblin, shuts him down, and that solidifies the defense here going into second point. Boise State, I mean, they've got the time banks to get this done.
They definitely do. However, it's not an easy ask. I mean, in 330, if you come up against a team that can hold you for 1-2 fights, once again, when we talk about this SR, they can hold you for the entire time. They understand ult economy. They know exactly when to take a fight and how it's going to be in their advantage based off of what they do or don't have. So is it on Goblin to run off on this Pharah again and absolutely murder everything in his sight? Gonna be hard when Shiloh comes out on this Echo. Echo, we've talked about it plenty of times, Yelk, one of the best Pharah counters if you ask me. But if that's not enough, you see what on a hit scan as well.
What I don't really like from Midland is the lack of a Mercy, because if you find a pick on the Boise State and their Mercy does have that Resurrect, there is really no tempo gained on the side of Midland. They have to act so quickly before that Resurrect can get off. And it gives Goblin an increased advantage in the skies going up against Shiloh, and what? He'll be able to stay alive for a little while longer unless he's maybe discorded by Scout or something, but I still think a Mercy could help out this Midland team. But I do think to Midland's favor, they did a great job of pushing past the initial point of second and getting it toward the end of bridge phase, giving themselves a very winnable game. And I like what they're doing, setting up at the very back of the point, using their range against this Pharah and stabilizing behind two shields.
Yeah, definitely going to work out in their favor for now with this double shield comp. They've just got to let them hold point briefly and keep Kell at bay for as long as they can before he's able to brawl onto that Orisa, as that's going to be their end here. As you actually see Boise State with an Orisa of their own, however, is paired with that Reinhardt. Goblin finds a huge pick onto what I bet they're wishing they had that Mercy now, and both DPS are gone. It's free reign for Goblin.
Free reign indeed. This is exactly what Boise State did the first time. They steamroll onto the first point. Once they pick away the hit scan, the Pharah is free to rule the skies. They break into the tavern, and it is all but not for Midland University. They'll have to defend second, Unicorn, but we knew what was coming to this.
We definitely did. It's going to move into Streets phase no matter what. The time bank doesn't matter too much at this point. It's all about getting to that last piece for Boise State, and it's all about defending it for Midland here. Will they be able to do it with their current comp? I want to see what back on the McCree. I don't like him too much on this Ashe. If you ask me, she's not a good hero without a pocket anymore since those nerfs. However, what far more talented than I am on the keyboard and mouse, I'm sure he's disagreeing and hopefully going to show us something different.
Goblin God rolls up along the right side early to pick off Scout. He's sent back to spawn again, sticking with the Zenyatta. It seems like the only playmaking ability that Midland will have in this fight is the window, but from this castle high ground, it could be a very valuable ultimate, but they're going to have to shut down Goblin's barrage yet again. It finds one before being bursted down by Sky, but the Resurrect is there to get Goblin back in the fight. Walk throws a halt up to the high ground before this window gets deployed. Chatter does burst down Plato through it with the help of that amplification, and now the tanks have to commit. They drop down to point. They've got to defend here before they give Boise a chance to get too close to that second point finish line. The Gravitic Flux coming in, but the slam doesn't find any confirmations as the front line for the Broncos still holds here under this bridge.
Chatter in a rough spot here on the Sigma. However, they're cleaning up and finding the pick. Squawk in a bad spot of his own here on the Orisa as they move forward. The Fortify comes out, as well as the remake there from Kell. Almost body blocks Squawk into finding some health. And now the fight's turned the other way. The Supercharger diminishes, and they find that time to advance forward. What's on the Soldier, trying to find some high ground here, but Plato's here to zone anybody out from touching, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to, as Winston's halted back there. Didn't get a chance to see which of the tanks switched, but Winston halted back. Boise State take Eichenwald, and more importantly, because we do play all three here at NECC, we're moving into map 3. Boise State take the series 2-0.
They take it 2-0, which means they are able to remain undefeated. The rank 1 team in the NECC will stay that way after this one. This play of the game from Norrell, I mean, it's a nice consolation prize. Rolling into third point when you're just fighting for a strong time bank, and Midland was able to get it. They didn't seem quite as put down that map as they did after Oasis, and I think as things continue to improve for them, they've got a good chance in our next map, which will be Route 66.
I agree. I think they're taking this opportunity to read what's in front of them. They're really getting a grip of what the new Boise State Blue looks like and how difficult it is going to be for them to take down a team like this now. Once again, we can only say it so many times. Not the same team from last season. Midland's experiencing that firsthand here. However, I need to see them enabling what more. I didn't like him on that Ashe there. I liked him a lot more on the Soldier. However, you know, as we mentioned with Eichenwald, a bit too little too late there as Boise takes it. We'll move into into Route 66, and I've got to assume that this just continues to cater for Boise.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. It's not quite a FARA map like the last one was. Eichenwald has tons of building coverage to support FARA in the sky, so I'm not sure if we're going to see that German horsepower comp, because a large part of that comp is comboing FARA's burst damage into those halts as well as the fire strike, and that can just one-hit pretty much anything that's not a tank. Unlikely that Boise State runs that comp again, but there are other DPS they can throw in for Goblin. Instead of that FARA, maybe throw him back onto that Sombra and run that Reinhardt Diva that we saw work so well. I think this is a map where that could have a lot of success. But Midland, I think they're onto a style of play where they're not quite sure what the best answer is up against Boise State. Do they hard support what on this DPS and just hope to win the trade wars that Boise State is giving them? Or do they support their front line a little more, maybe go brawl again and have less vulnerable targets for Boise to dive on top of?
I think they've got the same idea as you at this point. I think we all know that FAR is not going to work as well here on Route 66, so maybe they do opt for something similar to a Sombra. But when you talk about Goblin, we spoke about it beforehand, who knows what this kid's coming out on, right? It could be the FARA, it could be the Sombra, it could be a recon-only Bastion. We have no idea at this point. However, they've got to find an answer to it quickly, and I want to say that it is purely to enable what, because he's proven that he's having a good night, right? His team may be down, but he's finding the picks when they're there for him and when they present themselves. However, maybe it is to just trust in Noro in this Ryan 1v1, enable him as much as they can, maybe throw a Lucio in there to try and complete this rush down, and just assume that this front line is going to take care of itself and allow what to continue popping off in the back. But they've got to find an answer fast.
They sure do. Route 66 does open up a lot more compared to the last couple of maps we've played, and it is the final map in our best of 3, which has technically already been won by the Broncos, but in terms of map differential, these things do have to go the distance. All 3 maps are required here at the NECC, so Midland, it's not like you throw on a meme comp. It's not like you start to off-roll. I mean, this is still going to be Midland trying as hard as they can, just like when Boise State had that dominant time bank on Eichenwald, and we thought Midland had just lost the game when it was really only halfway done. Midland showed that they can come back and put up just as threatening of a time bank and give themselves a chance in overtime. So this is a team that clearly does not have quit, and I don't believe we're going to see a flash of quit in them on Route 66.
Well, the previous champions did not win the finals for no reason. Definitely no quit in them, and I don't think we see any here on Route 66. But maybe we do see, as I kind of mentioned in the last series, maybe a bit more experimenting. Maybe at this point it is sort of that glorified scrim. Obviously, you want to get it for the map differential, but maybe this is your opportunity to really play with Boise State and see what they have to offer. To go against maybe some of the more experimental comps that you're thinking about running. Maybe this is where they turn it into that more diverse idea. However, immediately we see them on the double shield. I've been cursed 100 times for calling it too early, so who knows what they actually go with. But right now, going for that very standard double shield, what back on the Ash. You've got the BAP Zen that caters to that double shield so well, and then Echo really fits in anywhere at this point.
I do think double shield stands in a pretty good spot in the meta right now, but Boise State seemed to have done a very good job at reading the meta and going with a Reinhardt and a Lucio rushdown, as well as some poke DPS. So they're equipped to spam down the double shield in the front line, and when the resources on the side of Midland's tanks are low, they've got the speed boost and guac on the Reinhardt to just go in and brawl them out and really take control of the entire game on both ends of the fight, early and late. If they can just live through the poke phase, that is what Midland is setting up for, to find a lot of picks before the fights even get going on this comp.
And what lets them live through this poke phase is really just to push payload to corner as quickly as possible, then try and speed boost under the gas station to try and get the advantage here and force that double shield down. However, what is required for a double shield is the second shield, and Sigma falls very quickly, shattered down immediately on that Sigma, and he's now on a Diva just to get back.
He was standing in a very aggressive spot. I like it if you're trying to take the off angle, but it didn't seem like he was reading the room very well, and it became a very dangerous spot very quick, as we all saw. ACU does find that headshot pick on the scout before they're able to get away from this little canyon corridor, as it seems like this payload is not going to stop once before it reaches the first point. Midland is struggling to get themselves collected to get a contest going.
It definitely is. I love Guac's positioning there. He holds high ground and denies the space before Midland can even begin to take it. Relies on Kel and the rest of his DPS to move that payload in the meantime. And that's going to allow them to really poke down a comp that wants to poke you down and then eventually make its way to point slowly. No time to do it slowly there, as Boise State do end up taking point A there on Route 66. Once again, that is a intimidating time bank to look at if you're Midland.
Yeah, both times they've succeeded in capturing the first point on these maps with over a 5-minute time bank. You start the game, Unicorn, with 4 minutes, and they have capped the first point in the future both times. So it is just absolutely menacing if you're on the side of Midland. A little bit demoralizing to know that you've got your work cut out for you again in this third map, but I'm sure they were expecting nothing less. They've swapped their comp up just a little bit, and getting into second point here, I do like their matchups going up against Boise a little bit better.
Yeah, I do as well. I think this is definitely a better answer for it. I mean, at this point, Boise's showing that they're not just built different mechanically, they're defying the laws of time. And Midland at this point, back in their spawn, just kind of relaxing, hoping, racking their brains at an answer to just see the light of day here on Route 66.
Yeah, they have not been able to play the game very much. They've been stuck in the spawn for most of this one so far. That amplification matrix does come out, and the Transcendence helps to negate that shatter, but Plato is able to high noon down Shiloh before Guac falls, but it doesn't seem like they care too much about this front line. One is trading out and onto the back line, but Bagel and Goblin collect a pair of kills, and Boise State still has ultimates to get through this fight. Scout taking down Goblin, though, is a big swing of things for Midland University. If they can just start to take good positions here on the second point, they could stage something with 3 minutes left on the clock.
I'm upset at Midland University for interfering with that support 1v1. I wanted to see Scout and a large Bagel go at it. It looked like a large Bagel had the upper hand in it briefly. However, that was definitely the most important part of that fight, not the Transcendence clutch blocking that shatter there from Guac. But you'll see Boise State choose to move left, and this is what you see from a lot of the higher SR teams. They'll move left, get the high ground. Best DPS in the game finds the best tank in the game quickly here. The Brigida trying to keep Guac at bay for as long as he can. The Dragon Strike comes out, and I'm done talking. You talk more.
It just looked like Chatter was perfectly safe in his positioning. He was up on the high ground, kind of out of the range, but he got found by a Hanzo headshot thrown loose from Goblin and taken down in a flash. Boise State, when it looks like they don't even have a play, they're able to find a pick and just get the payload moving, just like it never even stopped. Plato doing a phenomenal job finding final blows on this McCree pick. And once this point is capped, I believe they'll have close to 4 minutes going into third. So Midland University, they took off a minute in that second point phase, but still, this third point, they've got a ton of time to go up against.
And we joke about it with the large Bagel, but that's what this comp comes down to. Just the self-sufficiency that all these characters have. Speaking of, Chatter decides to commit a grab, the Pulse Bomb comes out too, and they're going to use this time and hopefully this positioning advantage to really stop this card at the corner, or maybe not even let it get that far, as they go for the solo grab onto Guac there, who is holding the top right room.
And just what really is it about this Lucio Reinhardt that we see Brawl comps struggle so much when they go up against split comps, double bubble comps, where really it's just so spread out. But this Lucio Reinhardt doesn't seem to be having any trouble closing the distance, and Boise State doing a great job of comboing ultimates as well. That amplification matrix and the high noon couple to take down Noro, and the beat drop keeps them all alive while they do it.
It's strange too, because with Midland you see this double bubble comp, and it looks like Boise State is so quickly recognizing who exactly they need to, whether it be frontline or backline, rush down with the resources they have available, and you see them executing it time and time again like they just do on Shatter. Now at this point, Noro's forced to pop the Primal far earlier than he wanted to, and he's being literally body blocked from exiting there, trying to kill ASU on that Baptiste. Finally does, and he's going to move his way to point as Kel's bomb finds Sky.
Sky just popped that rally too, but he got caught on the pillar and wasn't able to make it around it. If he was able to stay alive, maybe the rally can sustain Midland enough to make it through this fight, but now they're just on their last stint here as the payload on Route 66 nears the finish line, and eventually Unicorn, it will have no problem reaching it with 2 minutes 33 seconds for a time bank.
It certainly won't have a problem with it at all. And as they move into defense here, Boise is making light work of our previous champions. They've got the belt, but Boise is after it at this point. They want the trophy hanging out in their dorm rooms. They want the sponsorships. They want everything good that comes with the glory that is taking down the previous champions. I've got to assume for Boise that they just continue doing the same thing. I don't want this Reinhardt to work in this comp. I don't think it should be, but they are finding a way. And I mean, they to quote Boise State themselves, they say they've solidified a top 10 spot in the nation as a collegiate esports Overwatch team, and I'm looking like I agree.
I would have to agree as well. I mean, the way the program has come along to where this Boise State team, like you kind of said, is making light work of our previous champions who beat them just a semester ago in the highest stakes game of the season. This is a team that has come together in such a way that I would like to see them maybe enter the open division and see if they can take down a Ramrod squad of free agent grandmasters and maybe squeak into contenders, because this Boise State team, they play at a near professional level, the way they're able to, like you said, select the perfect target in every single fight, whether it's frontline or backline. They are all over the place, and they leave no room and nothing vulnerable for Midland to capitalize on.
It seems like it's just consistently so dynamic on how they select those targets. It's all resource based, and the way that they're able to communicate and then collapse on it immediately is impressive. And not only impressive, but look at the creativity with this composition. You're gonna run a Orisa and a Diva, and you're gonna hide inside of the Fallen Train. I love it.
I do kind of like it. It gives them a nice little rotation to exit along out of, but Goblin got on this Torbjorn, Plato on the McCree. This is not a comp you can really dive onto effectively, and it seems like Midland recognized that right away, and they've gone with a brawl comp boosted up by a May and a McCree. That May wall does come out, and the front line gets walled off. Kel taken out of his suit, and Noro able to stay alive despite getting stunned and fanned by Plato, and now the front line of Midland pushes in, but a little bit too quickly as Chatter and Sky are both taken down by ACU and Plato.
Definitely seems a little bit advantageous there. Plato ends up finding Sky as well, and then now he's just going to brawl forward here with his team. Going to walk forward with that Orisa slowly but surely, not before finding what Scout takes off the takes out the Torbjorn turret from Goblin. I love to see him on that character. High Noon's pop, but doesn't find anybody as this fight begins to slow down here. And one final pick for the sake of a stagger will come back onto Chatter after he just left his spawn doors before being taken out by Plato.
These halts that we're seeing from Guac, so great at just cleaning up kills. I mean, Chatter on high charge on Zarya, the top 10 NA peaked player, one of the best in the lobby. You take him out of high charge because you just clean him up with a halt. That's a very high value play you get out of that cooldown. So this double shield comp is able to set up again and fully stabilize this point.
Definitely, they're happy to be on top of this gas station. Once again, I want to see Noro and his team transition under it, as you see them do, you'll see them do now. That's going to force that double shield down. However, Goblin has some lava to throw on point first.
I mean, Noro was just on top of the cart, and Sky speed boosted him on top of Big Earls in a flash. Nobody on Boise was expecting it.
I can't believe that.
Off the backside. That's the kind of play they have to make. They haven't made Boise State look like they're dealing with anything unexpected very much in this match, but that was one of the flashes of greatness we've saw from Midland that proved that they're a team with a lot of tricks up their sleeve that can compete with any team in our toughest division, but still Boise State cling to this point. They counter this Blizzard with a number of picks from Kel and Goblin, but Shatter taking down Kel. Could stabilize things here for Midland. They're still playing with 3. A large bagel does take down what? It's a 2 versus 2. Who's got it in the bag? Unicorn, the beat drop says Boise State.
They throw the beat drop, they commit to it. Now it's just Sky trying to get out. He's got a beat drop of his own, but unwilling to bend there, force it out of his own pocket there. Doesn't want to commit the beat drop on that fight. I can't blame him, but when we talk about commitments, I mean, they went forward on an amplification matrix throughout the Blizzard there and didn't see anything but a little bit of progression there. Boise State are able to position better and take the fight in their own hands, and we're going to see another one immediately as the Sky Noon comes out.
Sky Noon comes up, but countered to perfection. Plato only finds 1 on Shiloh. The cart almost inches up to the finish line, just 4 meters to go, but still Boise State looking like they're going to brawl in with the help of the supercharger and the amplification window thrown out by ACU, and they're going to defend this point just fine once more. 40 seconds left on the clock for Midland to get it done, and all they have is an Earth Shatter from Noro.
Yoke, where did all those check marks from Midland go? It looked like the fight was so handedly won by Boise State, yet so many ultimates were committed for the side of Midland. Now we're final fight. All we have to work with is a shatter, and at this point, how are you going to shatter them? They're all up there. So unless they do some crazy speed boost play again, I don't know how they get up there instead of just walking onto point and hoping they fall down.
Goblin's got the Molten Core as well to just keep Midland off of all the crucial areas of this point. He throws out the lava. It gets chucked. He's into the backline, but he's taken down by the brawl from Midland. They've got to stay near this card as overtime is underway. Chatter does take down Goblin, like I said, but the lava is able to find Shiloh after it's been out there for what seems like an eternity. Sky and what also fall Boise State looking like they've got the sweep in their hands.
It's definitely looking like it. The immortality field's there just to protect anyone from falling. The gravitic flux is going to clean up anyone who ever thought about contesting. Noro and Chatter both fall. They also fall to Boise State, who ends up taking the series, keeps their undefeated record, as you said, keeps their map differential, and man, do they look good.
They do. What a response coming back from the championship game last semester to just really prove, oh, this is the bomb that unfortunately found Sky when he was rallying. Couldn't quite get around that pole. Sky, better luck next time. Great play from Kel to also delete Noro on the back of this one. And I mean, that's Boise State just being all over the place, right? That's what we talk about. Front line, back line, the perfect target always there. Kel was on 4 different targets in that play of the game, and it was a lightning quick. Just bang, 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 bang. Everything perfect. The shot calling for Boise State must be insane. The comms in that Discord channel must be absolutely electric and bombastic, and all the things we hope to see from a tank line that runs that brawl.
Definitely. I mean, I want to know, is it Guac? Is it Kel who's shot calling there? I mean, whoever you see, when we jump back and forth through that diva play of the game, it's all communication based, right? You get the bomb there, ends up finding Sky. Maybe could have just turned the brick shield, that way, but thought they were behind the pole, like you mentioned, and then immediately jumps on to the diva of Scout there, cleans that up, as well as communicating that pin. Boise State not only look good mechanically, they look very, very synergized with each other.
Yeah, when your entire team is able to effectively stay inside of a Lucio speed boost and get the full effect out of that hero, you can see why Lucio moves from what many people might consider a throw pick to one of the best supports in the game in terms of just increasing how your team is able to control the tempo. Because like we saw, if one team has speed and the other one doesn't, the game is completely in Boise State's hands. If that Reinhardt is swinging on anything and everyone's in the speed boost, that means likely 6 things are also shooting that one target that Guac is engaged on. We talked so much about Guac's wrecking ball, didn't even see it for a second today, Unicorn. It was all Reinhardt. I mean, what a shock.
All Reinhardt, we briefly saw him on Orisa while Kel took over on the Reinhardt, but that was as brief as it gets. Even defensive Eichenwald, Guac was fiending for it. He wanted back on the German man with the hammer there, and he took over this entire game, going up against very, very good players. I mean, what was losing for the entire game, and we couldn't stop talking about him because how impressive he is on his respective DPS. Guac ran over him and the rest of Midland, making it look like we never saw a finals in the first place, and this was a random week 6 game last year that they lost by a fluke. But instead, we have to remind ourselves, Midland, those were the champions that we just lost, that we just watched lose in a dominating fashion. Midland put up a good fight. They definitely go back to the drawing board, but the main objective on that drawing board is how do we deal with Boise State Blue?
Yeah, that is the final boss of the Gladiators division, and we've got another Gladiators match coming up next between, I believe, Sorry? Caleb, one more time.
Bagel interview.
Bagel
interview, Yelk. That's what we're doing.
You're a Lucio buddy on the best DPS hero in the game.
Best DPS in the game. Don't care what anyone says. Get him in here.
Nice.
Hello.
A large bagel. How's it going, man? Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You come in, and we can't stop hyping up here on stream. The whole cast. I mean, this was a grudge finals match. This is a finals match that we happen to find ourselves in. In the beginning weeks of the NECC. How are you feeling riding off this high of taking down the previous champions?
It feels pretty good. The finals were pretty saddening. We've actually played Midland in a different tournament before, so we knew how we wanted to play this, what we wanted to do, what they were going to do a bit. And I feel like we really brought it today and sort of redeemed ourselves in the final.
I couldn't agree more. And kind of walk me through that process, right? Because we keep talking about it here, on the stream of how formidable Midland is. And even though that looks like an easy 3-0 throughout some of it, I mean, Chatter, a top 10 player, what absolutely popping off on his DPS? What's the headspace like for Boise on how to deal with those players with their mechanical skill and their pop-off potential at any moment?
What's going through our minds a lot is like you saw on Eichenwald, Goblin's a very good Pharah, and we want to be able to enable that at times. But with the DPS, like you said, what having pretty good aim, we knew that what would be trying to exploit him, but their BAP wasn't giving him as much focus. So it gave us a bit of space to play the Pharah, and we really just played to our strengths in that sense. Like on the end of Route 66, we pulled out the Torb, and it allowed us to just, as I said, play to our strengths and really bring it home.
Absolutely. One more before I pass it off to Yoke here. I want to kind of walk on this Reinhardt. So in a meta that's so dominated and is currently transitioning, is it double shield? Are we sticking with double bubble? We'll have to see with this, experimental where we're actually ending up. But with Reinhardt kind of in this power creep, not so great spot, you guys make it work like it's the first day of Overwatch and no one's ever played against a Reinhardt. What's the communication like on getting to a very individual playstyle comp like double bubble is? Are you guys just constantly reading the room for what the resources look like for the opposing team and then immediately escorting Reinhardt there on your Lucio, or what's the mind game?
Usually how it goes is Guac will scream, "Can I speed?" And then I will say speeding, and then we'll just like int as hard as we can. He knows how much aggression I'm gonna let him have. He knows how much he's gonna like go forward and like how much I can support him in that. Yeah, I felt like we were able to sort of execute that and perfect it a bit. I've been playing with Guac for a while now. Our Lucio Ryan's getting pretty good.
Agreed.
And Kel knows as well our off tanks and DPS know like exactly what's happening in that scenario. So the more we play together, the more it gets perfected, and our communication's just getting better.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, congratulations again from me. Yelk, you want to take over?
Oh, I sure do. Bagel, you are like the most aggressive support player I've ever seen. Usually you're on a Zenyatta transcendencing from spawn back to the fight, but today you were on Lucio. How do you decide what heroes you want to play in a given match? Is it a reading of the meta or more of a comfort pick type thing where your team plays to the strengths of each individual player?
Absolutely a reading of the meta. This past season of competitive was my best one I've ever had, and I just basically one-tricked Zenyatta the entire time. But Lucio was what carried me from Masters to top 500 originally, so I have been locking that. I still got the skill, and my teammates need that to be brought out, especially for the speeding the Reinhardt around in the current meta. So I'm able to bring that to the table.
And are there any other advantages that Lucio brings other than just speeding and carting the Reinhardt around?
Oh,
How
yeah.
does the rest of your team get support from that hero?
Reddit Lucio. I int my brains out. And I push people out of position. You'll see a lot of times I was up in the face of the other team, and first fight on Route 66 specifically, I was just sitting and waiting for the Sigma to take a little too much space so I could boop them off into our team, and that just cascaded the first point in our favor.
Oh, it sure did. I mean, they had trouble getting out of spawn all the way through second point, and it was off the back of that boop onto Chatter, like you said. And I'm so proud that you just said Reddit Lucio. Like, you didn't even break stride of that.
No hesitation.
Like, what does Lucio bring? You're just like Reddit clips.
Reddit Lucio.
Just...
Okay, so settle a debate here between the community. Right here, the Reddit Lucio of Reddit Lucios. I say it all the time. People tend to disagree. Lucio's the best DPS in the game. Am I wrong?
Oh, absolutely.
The best DPS in the game. If you're a Widow, if you're a Zenyatta, if you're someone who doesn't have some sort of mobility to get away from him, if you're a Widow, he's just killing you. If you're another DPS, he's just not letting you play the game for the 18 seconds that he's in your face. I mean, am I wrong here?
There's truly nothing scarier than seeing a like top 500 Lucio running towards you with your name.
True. Well, is that it for you, Yelk? Any other questions for the man?
That's all I got. I'm excited for you to continue to just using support ultimates to get back from spawn in the future. Congratulations again on beating Midland today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys hosting this tournament.
Absolutely, Bagel. We're happy to have you, man. Congratulations once again. Just so you know, Yelk and I requested to cast this game because it was that rematch of finals. So we're happy to be here. Look forward to casting you a bunch more, man.
All right. That makes sense. It's a big game. I really appreciate you guys casting it and just make it happen.
Absolutely, man.
All right, take care, Bagel.
You guys too. Thank you.
All right, well, that was once again a large Bagel, your Reddit Lucio player for Boise State Blue. We've got another game coming up. Yelk, any parting words here? As I mean, once again, Boise State probably riding high here. I'm assuming the rest of chat as well. We saw the grudge match of the finals of last season come to fruition. Ends up 3-0 in Boise State. What you got to say about it?
I mean, the Broncos definitely riding high, like you said. They are the final bosses of the Gladiators division. They've locked it down. This was the ultimate proving game for them and Midland as well to see if they're still a contender in this finals race as we go on. But I think the thing that Midland needs to take away is this is similar to what happened last season before they ended up winning the championship. They're a team that can learn as the season goes on. Maybe they didn't quite predict the meta right during this game. And Boise State just just had the edge there in a pretty clean way where they knew exactly what they were going to run, and they knew that they weren't going to be the team that was searching for answers. But if Midland reads the game a little differently as the league goes on, I think they could be a different team because they've got the pieces to beat a team like Boise State. But Boise State definitely the undoubted best team in Gladiators right now.
Absolutely. And from what we've seen from Midland last season, and even as we move forward into this series, they are very adaptive on how they can transition to a meta and specific to what team they're dealing with. You know, people in chat here at the NECC don't think you're seeing Midland. Don't think you're done seeing Midland here. They've got a lot more to show. It's going to be a great season for them. I don't doubt that at all. I think they're super talented. I don't think they're done with Boise State yet either. I think they want some more.
There'll be another rematch. I'm absolutely sure of it. This is not the last time these two teams see each other this season. But up next, we've got our fifth game of the night, UC Santa Cruz versus Fresno State 1. Another Gladiators division game, some very high-level competition. Grandmasters coming to play again for us here on the NECC. Unicorn, you got any final words for this one before you say goodnight to chat?
I don't think so. Thank you to chat. Thank you for the viewers. Thank you to Caleb here on the production team, killing it as always, making sure all of this is, doable. We're happy to have him. Definitely a huge beacon of light here at the NECC. As we move forward, Yelk, always a pleasure to cast with you, man. Are you on the next game?
On the next game, it's going to be me and
header.
Nuclear.
Oh,
Yeah,
a doubleheader.
again.
Nuclear is super talented too. Excited to watch that. That's it for me. That's it for Yelk for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. It's been a pleasure as always. This was Boise State versus Midland. Thank you so much, everybody.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.